Disregard as regard. Camera 1. Action.
Good evening. My name is Frankie Roberts, and this is going to be our first episode of our podcast that we are launching this evening. The name of this podcast is Disregard as regard. We'll talk about what that means a little later. But one of the things that we are looking to accomplish with this podcast is we're going to talk about very sensitive issues dealing with the political landscape here in Wilmington, North Carolina. We're going to deal with class, race, age, gender, so that we can kind of narrow those gaps that exist that sometimes separates us. Here in Wilmington, North Carolina, we had one of the most horrific coups or massacres that happened in American history. And it has left a lot of remnants of separation and disregard. So we're going to pick that up so that all people can be regarded. I am highlighting my co-host, who happens to be my son, Malik Shabazz, because one of the things that I have recognized as I have become a better man and a better father, raising a young man, and then when he becomes of age, we sometimes disagree because he uses against me what we used to do back in the day. And so I consider that old school, and there is new school. And I'm gonna let him do a brief introduction of who he is.
What's going on, everybody? The Malik Shabazz. Like you said, I'm his son. I want to not really challenge him, but just show him that there is a new era, a new age that we need to look at things. That's pretty much it. You can do our thing. We'll have fun.
Okay. One last thing that I want to do is introduce a little bit about who I am. I'm a native Wilmingtonian. I've been married 27 years. I have 3 children. The oldest is 43. The youngest is 28, 29. 29, somewhere along in there. I now am a executive director of an organization that provides support for people transitioning from prison to community. And prior to that work, I was a barber. So in our first episode, we're going to start with talking about, Brother Malik, the intersectionality of race, class, gender. And I'm going to just kind of read what some of the experts say about intersectionality.
I was about to say, because some of my people ain't going to know what that word even means.
So it is the lens that assumes people are a combination of many different traits, such as gender, class, sexuality, and that no one is left out of the fight of justice and equal rights. So I'm gonna hit you with this. So sometimes when we come to an intersection, like on the highway, and it depends on what's going on. Some of those intersections, like maybe at South Curve and Market Street, a lot of traffic. And if we aren't careful, that traffic could create chaos.
For sure.
But if we got understanding, good signs, good limits, then it's a smooth sailing. But unfortunately, and we want to start with talking about the intersectionality of mainstream politics today.
Okay.
So this is our first episode.
Okay.
And what is being highly discussed here in Wilmington, which is Port City United.
That's a busy intersection there.
Exactly. A busy intersection where, in my humble opinion, people are being harmed. And let me tell you what I mean by that. People are being harmed because as some of our citizens, politicians, leaders have expressed, been very outspoken, that has hurt some of the feelings or some of the individuals who are a part of PCU feel dehumanized. So that's where the harm comes in.
Dehumanized, disrespected, unheard. It's a lot of words we could use.
Yes. So it's up to one of the objectives of this podcast is to try to ease that, but understand what you see is based on where you sit. So I feel like a PCU person. I am them, they are me. And I know you have expressed that in some of our private conversations. So tell me a little bit about what you think in regards to, I think they call them violence interrupters. What is a violence interrupter?
Yeah, so PCU is cool. I think we had a lot of things in the right place. A violence interrupter were guys and or girls on the staff or on our team that would go to high-risk areas and neighborhoods and would basically diffuse situations, fights, shootings, arguments, anything that you could think of. They are the guys who would go out and just settle everything, settle the dust. The correct word would be to mediate. That's what the whole mediation and outreach team came from, is to go out into the neighborhood without a gun, like the police officers have, and just, diffuse the situation how it's supposed to be diffused. The correct skills to mediate a situation.
So it sounds like there was quite a bit of love involved with what they used to do.
Oh, for sure. So, like, even for myself, I don't think I can go to a neighborhood where two guys are going at it and get them to calm down without getting in the blows. So it takes special people to go in there and be able to diffuse situations in at-risk areas like that, to me.
So Malik, I don't know that you know how we got here, and I think that as I have been hearing different people talk about this group that's up under county's leadership, it seems like they have started in the middle of the conversation. And let me tell you what I mean by that. So in the middle of the conversation, I noticed that the bad press started, when was it? Probably about a month and a half ago, when one of the interrupters was charged with, not convicted, but charged with, what were they charged with? Charged with accessory. Person, there was a shooting and a person was injured. And so this particular interrupter was charged with an accessory. And so then there were some outspoken individuals that talked about how this wasn't a good program and use words that could be considered dehumanizing.
For sure.
I didn't feel very much love. But one of the challenges to that was things just kind of augmented. It just got more negative, and more negative. And so I remember where all this started. And it seems like a lot of people didn't want to talk about how we got here. And so we got here back in late 2021, early 2022. And it was in 22, at least when one of the meetings took place. But there was a shooting at one of our local high schools.
New Hanover. Yeah, I was a part of that.
Oh, that's right. We're going to talk about the CRCs. I forgot that you were.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So a shooting happened. And then a joint meeting took place after that because the shooting happened. And we should never have a shooting in the school. I think everybody was in uproar. I think everybody was mortified. However, everybody kind of moved into high gear. So there was a meeting call, which included the county commissioners, city council members, school board members, judges, DAs, law enforcement.
All in one meeting.
Yes,
Correct.
they had a joint meeting. And the meeting was called based on this tragic thing that happened in the school, the shooting. And during that meeting, there was one of the county commissioners who happened to be the chairman at the time. They made a motion. That because, and you know, I got my own image of thought about it, but I feel like because there were students that I love and you love who happened to be white, was in close proximity to what was considered a gang retaliation. And the shooting took place in that school. And because everybody was mortified, and I want to say, because Black people have always been mortified with violence in the inner city. Always. I mean, we've been screaming a long time.
Yeah.
But because parents who we would call, what we gonna deem these parents? Parents, I think they call them another intersection when we talked about class.
Mm-hmm.
Affluent
Right.
parents, which are typically parents with money, typically white. They were affluent, so they got on the phone and started calling. Yo, Mr. County Commissioner, y'all better do something. You know how you used to tell me when something was going down in the community?
Yeah,
Daddy, you got to do something.
Yeah.
So the county commissioner, city council, they constituents started calling. Y'all got to do something because my baby was in there. But guess what? I had been calling them too years and years prior to that. Y'all got to do something. My babies are at risk in this inner city.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing that I saw that was different, that the county commissioner, who happened to be the chairperson, made a motion to give or to execute $300 million.
So let me ask you a clarification. Let me get some clarification real quick, because I think you. So what you're saying is, because of this school shooting, and white kids were around, you think Port City United was created?
No, I don't think. I mean, all of the facts would show that, but you wouldn't know that. You know why you wouldn't know that?
Why?
Is because during this time that Port City United has been on the chopping blocks and everybody's emotions have been heightened, they haven't given the people all of the truth and the context. That's why you don't know. We think that VCU just showed up on the scene.
Y'all hearing this firsthand right here. Y'all, look, we got it. Okay.
So that's, I was in the community at the time, and so when they executed our county manager, who I think is a very good county manager.
What you mean by the execute? They fired the county manager? That
No. I say when they executed the money.
Okay.
And gave the county manager jurisdiction to come up with violence prevention efforts and approaches to ensure this wouldn't happen again. That's what happened. And it was unanimous. The vote, I make the motion, and then there was a second, all in favor, aye, which was only the county commissioners who could vote. And they agreed in that meeting to execute $300 million at a hospital sale to go towards crime prevention efforts on the north side so that we won't have to worry about our children being in close proximity to violence.
So look, for all my people that really need, again, another breakdown. If you live on the north side, basically, there was some money supposed to be distributed to keep your kids safe. Now I want y'all, when this airs, when we see this, to pause the video and ask your kids, do they feel safe? That's all.
That's a good point.
Because what you're saying, from what I'm breaking down, is, yeah, they were such an uproar to fix everything. They gave the money, and I'm not going to say I don't see the fixing, but from where we are now, if this is what the county commissioners wanted in the first place, and then 3 years later to say, I don't support it. So may I ask this question? Is the same county commissioners that are serving right now, were they a part of that process 3 years ago, or are these different county commissioners?
Two of them are different. And the two, during that time, the person, the chairwoman, Julia Bozeman, was one of the county commissioners, and Deb Hayes, who has passed away since. And the two new county commissioner is Leanne, it might be Leanne Pierce. I'm having a senior moment, and Dane Scalise. Those are the two new county commissioners. And certainly, one of the things in politics, you always going to have commissioners that change, and you get new ones. However, I think the same spirit in our elected officials ought to be the same, which is leading with love. I'm going to keep saying that throughout these podcasts, because nobody wants to be reminded of their worst mistake. Nobody. So we got a couple of guys who have went kind of, again, I can't even say that because they hadn't been convicted. We had two guys that was charged with the crime, and we are yet to see whether they're going to be convicted or not. So we don't want to see, people pass judgment.
Yeah.
So I just want to that happened. The the county manager then went on a crusade to bring all of the nonprofits that work in the space of youth violence into a room. So we had meetings twice a month for a 6 months period to try to come up with crime prevention efforts. And he had created a platform. You was at the very first meeting that your father facilitated, and to start the conversation so that everybody would have a voice. Yeah. And then we had those meetings for the next 6 months.
Now, when you say nonprofits in these spaces, what do you mean? Because when I think of nonprofits, and you guys got to realize this is southeastern North Carolina. We are not national. When I think about nonprofits in my area, I think of places like the Sakota House, Lincoln Incorporated, Voyage of Wilmington Dreams. Those are like places that I think about, but you said they had to have something to do with violence in the...
Well, at least crime prevention efforts or intervention efforts. And when I say prevention, people that's working with youth to prevent them from going down a path of crime, suspension, juvenile delinquency.
So who are those nonprofits?
Well, there were several at the table. There was our youth development initiative, which is Light Manhood. There was Voyage. There was Soaring as Eagles. There was Communities in Schools. There was, Too Good for Violence. There was Elements.
Okay.
You
had some good people in there.
Yeah, it was several. You had people from the school system. You had psychologists, social workers. Yeah, you had Northside Food Co-op.
And so all these people came together to make Port City United, or is that something?
Well, we were looking at different options. I mean, because when you're looking to heal an ailment, you need everybody.
Yeah.
You in the room, black, white, affluent, no influence at all. little people, big people,
I got you.
people with money.
So let me ask you this, a little sidebar. Who was the person facilitating that you guys get these people together? Like, was that all of the county commissioners or the county commissioners?
That was the county manager. You remember in that meeting, they tasked the county manager to come up with crime preventions or anti-violence efforts on the north side. So I want to keep saying on the north side.
Why do you keep saying the north side?
Well,
because the shooting happened at Hanover, which is on the north side? Okay.
Yes. Okay. But remember, we talking about intersectionality. When you got those intersectionalities, it's going to sometimes accentuate oppression or accentuate privilege. So when you start saying the north side, then you created an intersection where now you got the north side potentially against the south side, potentially against the east side, right. And that almost sounds like a gang territory, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah. So that was one of the intersections that was created by saying on the north side. Now, what do I think? I think it should have been citywide, countywide.
I kind of agree, but this is just me. I think Wilmington leaves out the north side a lot. I live on the north side. We don't have a grocery store yet. We just got
coming.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I think I see why they wanted to emphasize on the north side because, we really don't get the resources that we should. But it's coming north side. All my north side folks, it's coming.
So we did those meetings. Judge Courtney, and I will say one of the judges, Courtney, I'm only mentioning his name because that is one of my mentors, a person that I really think a lot of. He's been on the forefront of youth success a long time.
Shout out.
And I appreciate that. He made a recommendation to consider the cure violence model, and in Durham, which is Bull City United, was one of those models that have had a lot of success. And so we looked at that model, and that's what we decided to go with. And by the way, I want the listening audience to understand that when our podcast go live, we will have all of the links to the meetings that the county commissioners had, all of the conversations. So everything that we talk about on this show, we will be able to verify, and you will see that. So I just thought I needed to say that.
Do your homework, man.
Y'all
gotta really do your homework.
Yeah, you're gonna see the links attached, but yeah, I just wanted everybody to know. So we got down to the last several meetings, and we had agreed to go with the cure violence model. We had Bull City United from Durham come and do a presentation. And so about the success and things that, come along with it. Mm-hmm. I also had the opportunity to be a part of the interview panel when we started interviewing individuals. And certainly there has been a lot of propaganda that didn't think or feel that the county, in their hiring practices and process, the individuals that they were hiring, some people could say that they were active members of an organization that we label as gangs. And I'm trying to be careful about the English that I use.
Y'all see, he got to be careful. Y'all see that?
Yeah. See, you would just say it.
Yeah, because I say that to say this. I feel as though, and I hope I tread lightly when I say this. Yeah, over the last couple of weeks, we've had county commissioners, people running for county commissioner, get on radio stations and just say whatever, truth or not. So yeah, I don't think you as a successful black man should start to put or hide or tread lightly when we got your counterparts, people who you sit at the table, can sit and speak freely. That is one of the main issues I kind of have with the old school, new school, because yeah, if your counterpart, if a guy that you sit in meetings with can go on any radio station and say whatever, then Frankie Roberts should be able to as well, without seeing repercussions or getting a lashing, as y'all would like to say. Because I mean, and again,
okay.
for us of the new school, you know, something you say is we are where we sit. So if we sitting and we seeing that just, as we grow up, we feel as though we see the same thing. I better not speak out then because, yeah. And that also puts a cap on our youth because they are not seeing enough of us be leaders and being able to speak out because, yeah, our counterpart might do this or do that. And I think that's a part of.
So one of the, thank you for saying that. So that's one of the intersections, is that intersection of the powerful or those with influence versus those who are not. So let's talk about that real quickly because we're going to have to wrap up shortly. But let's talk about that power dynamic that sometimes exists. It was the power dynamic that created Port City United. And when I say the power dynamic, because in certain communities or zip codes or inner city neighborhoods where we have witnessed violence over time, we have always rung the bell tone that we needed support, programs, money to create a different outcome that we thought could train up our youth in the way they should go, in positivity, good values, good family values. And so with us always ringing that bell tone and not being heard by what we believe is the political landscape, and then when a shooting happened and people from other zip codes are put in that mix, they use their power and influence to push elected officials, because a lot of elected officials, not all, look at that those constituents as their constituents in the other zip codes and not in our zip codes, because we have been crying all the time about the support. But soon as students from other zip codes are in close affected, that's a good word, then it's like, let's write me over $100, $200, $300 million checkbook to get beyond that. So that's the power dynamic that was created, or that there was an intersection that creates sometimes this less than greater than.
Right.
And unfortunately, man, that is, so when you say sometimes people like me might have learned, and I was going to say more is caught than taught, because I saw my mother do business in this town. And when I went with her on Fridays, when she went to pay bills, she acted subservient, and she acted like white people or people who happened to be white was her master. And over time, I accepted that reality. So when I sat at certain tables, I sat at that table as an unequal and not as an equal. However, it was up to me to fix that, to say, Frankie, I need you to regurgitate the internalized oppression of inferiority. Sure. And so sometimes when I go to the table, I'm learning to have the courage to speak up. And sometimes I even use you as a scapegoat.
You're supposed to.
And I just got to say how that looks at a table. I might say if I feel like that what I'm about to say might not come over that well, I might say, folks, I'm gonna say this because my son would probably say to me, and it might be 5 years from now, Daddy, you mean to tell me you was at the table with the people that had the power and influence and you didn't say nothing?
Yeah, that's right.
And that's what you kind of tell me. No, I shouldn't say kind of. That's what you tell me all the time.
That's right.
Frank, but Daddy, but you at the table.
That's right. And so that, with my young people, before we wrap this little quick segment up, for what he's saying, and he said a key point was he felt like he had to be the one to change that. As young people, we are stronger together. So I feel as though if you would have had maybe 5 people help you get through that, yeah, we'd be light years ahead. But because you had to go through it by yourself, it's taking you a longer time. And I think that is the division we're seeing because it's 2024. Yeah, I can go find 5 people that's willing to ride and die for this cause because we've been hurt for so long. Yeah. And I think this podcast and what's going on with Port City United is going to shine light on a lot of people that's saying, well, dang, I kind of feel how Frankie Roberts was feeling now. And that'll kind of give us the power that we need to, be more successful so things like this don't continue to happen to us.
Yeah, because the part of equality, equity, as we see today with the UNC School of Governors trying to dismantle the equity concepts and consciousness. It's almost as it feels like that sometimes we have to fight a battle just to be treated as an equal. And then from where we sit, and I want to say this lastly, I don't want anybody to think that as we're having this conversation, that we feel like, and I'm going to say it just frankly, that we feel like a damn victim, because we're not. We are not victims, but we are speaking to the truth and structural systems that hold people back, no matter the color or the race, no matter the class, it just holds people back. And that's one thing that we're going to be fighting against. And that is, we believe that love conquers all. Well, Malik, I appreciate the conversation, but we're going to jump right in next week. And next week, we're going to be, how does discrimination and prejudice show up in Wilmington, North Carolina?
That's true. And if y'all need to ask some questions or anything like that, I'm going to just sneak it in. My Instagram is _PCF. Y'all can DM me at any time. My Twitter handle or my X is @MalikTime_. That's MalikTime. And you can follow us on YouTube whenever we drop this. All right. Appreciate y'all. Have a good one.
Bam.